The merchant pauses at the city gate, his clay tablets tucked beneath his arm, and something stops him cold. It is not a sound, it is the absence of one. The great bronze bells that ring at dawn, silent. The grinding of stone wheels at the grain depots, still. The laughter of children chasing each other through the perfectly straight lanes, gone. He turns slowly, scanning the horizon, and what he sees will haunt every civilization that comes after him for the next 4,000 years. The streets of the greatest city on earth are empty. But to understand what was lost that morning, we have to go back to a time when the world had never seen anything like this place. It is 2500 BCE, and the Indus Valley is alive. While the pharaohs of Egypt are still debating how to stack enough stones to touch the sky, and while the city-states of Mesopotamia are drowning in their own political chaos, something extraordinary is happening in what is now modern-day Pakistan. A civilization is building a city so advanced, so meticulously planned, that architects and urban engineers of the 21st century will study its blueprints with open mouths and quiet envy. Mohenjo-Daro. The name, given centuries later by those who found only ruins, translates roughly as Mound of the Dead. But in its prime, it was anything but dead. It was the beating heart of a civilization that stretched across nearly 1 million square kilometers, making it larger in geographic reach than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. At its peak, this single city housed somewhere between 40,000 and 100,000 people. In a world where most humans still lived in scattered villages, this was nothing short of miraculous. And here is what should make your jaw drop. This city was not built by accident or improvisation. It was designed. Every street ran at precise right angles. The main boulevards were wide enough for 2 ox carts to pass comfortably, while narrower lanes branched off in perfect grids. The buildings were constructed from standardized, kiln-fired bricks that followed a ratio of 1 to 2 to 4 in their dimensions, a proportion so efficient that engineers still recognize its logic today. No one told one builder to use a different size than his neighbor. Somehow, across this vast civilization, everyone agreed. Everyone conformed to the same standard. But the bricks are not even the most astonishing part. Beneath those perfectly laid streets ran an underground drainage system so sophisticated it would not be matched anywhere in the world for another 2,000 years. Every home, from the grandest multi-story structure to the humblest dwelling, was connected to this network. Wastewater flowed through covered channels into larger drains, which carried it out of the city entirely. Inspection holes were placed at regular intervals so workers could maintain the system. These were not primitive gutters. This was sanitation engineering, and every major home had its own private bathing room. Some had toilets connected to the drains below. The city's famous Great Bath, a massive public pool lined with waterproofed brick and fed by a sophisticated water management system, stood at the center of civic life. It was not merely a place to wash. Archaeological evidence suggests it held deep ritual significance, a place where the community gathered, purified itself, and perhaps communed with something larger than daily survival. Now meet the people who built this wonder. The Indus Valley people remain, to this day, one of history's greatest mysteries. Unlike the Egyptians who carved their pharaohs into mountainsides, unlike the Mesopotamians who wrote endless king lists into clay, the people of Mohenjo-Daro left no monuments to rulers, no towering statues of conquerors, no inscriptions boasting of military victories. Their script, found on thousands of small seals, has never been deciphered. We do not know what language they spoke. We do not know what gods they worshipped, though the Great Bath and certain figurines give us tantalizing hints. We do not even know what they called themselves. What we do know is this: their society appears to have been remarkably equal. There is no evidence of a palace, no evidence of a warrior class, no mass graves from warfare. The homes vary in size, yes, but even the smaller ones had access to the drainage system, to clean water, to the protections of urban life. Whatever power structure existed here, it did not announce itself with gold and blood the way other ancient civilizations did. It whispered. And then, like everything else about these people, it fell silent. The traders among them were extraordinary. Indus Valley seals have been found in Mesopotamia. Their cotton textiles, among the earliest ever produced, traveled across trade routes to distant markets. They kept standardized weights and measures. Again, that obsession with uniformity, with the system that everyone agreed to follow. A merchant in one city could trade fairly with a merchant 1,000 kilometers away because both trusted the same scales. And yet, for all this sophistication, for all this order, something was coming that no drainage system could channel away. By around 1900 BCE, cracks are beginning to show. Not in the buildings, those remain structurally sound. The cracks are in the pattern of life itself. Archaeological layers from this period reveal a city slowly losing its discipline. The once perfect drains are no longer being maintained. Debris accumulates in the channel that were once kept spotless. New buildings are constructed in the middle of streets that have been kept clear for centuries. The standardized bricks begin to vary in size. The quality of craftsmanship, so consistent for so long, starts to slip. Something is wrong. But what? For decades, archaeologists proposed a dramatic answer. In the 1940s, the man who first excavated Mohenjo-Daro in depth believed he had found the smoking gun. Scattered skeletons, some found in the streets, some in collapsed buildings, some apparently left where they fell. He concluded that the city had been massacred, that the Indo-Aryan migrations, those waves of people moving down from the steppes of Central Asia, had swept through the Indus Valley and ended the civilization in fire and blood. It was a compelling story. It was also, subsequent research has strongly suggested, largely wrong. Later analysis of those skeletons revealed that they did not all die at the same time. Some showed signs of disease. Others showed evidence of being buried long after death. The dramatic massacre theory began to unravel, and in its place emerged something far more unsettling because it has no villain, no invader to blame, no single catastrophe to point at. The Indus Valley civilization may have been destroyed by something it could not fight, by the slow, grinding indifference of climate. The evidence is building, layer by geological layer, that the rivers changed. The mighty Ghaggar-Hakra river system, which had fed this civilization for centuries, began to shift and weaken. Monsoon patterns altered. The agricultural surpluses that had fed 100,000 people in a single city began to fail. Without reliable water, without reliable harvests, the extraordinary logistical machine that kept Mohenjo-Daro running could not be sustained. And here is where the story becomes truly haunting. Because the people did not simply die, they left. The population dispersed, slowly at first, then with gathering urgency. Families packed what they could carry. Merchants closed their stalls. The craftspeople who had maintained those remarkable drainage systems put down their tools for the last time. The city that had hummed with the energy of tens of thousands of lives grew quieter with each passing season. Streets that had never known silence began to know nothing else. By around 1700 BCE, Mohenjo-Daro was effectively abandoned, not burned, not conquered, not buried under volcanic ash, simply left. The buildings stood, the drains remained, the Great Bath held its shape, but the people were gone, dispersed across the subcontinent, their descendants perhaps flowing into the great river of humanity that would eventually become the diverse civilizations of South Asia. The city waited in the silence of the desert for nearly 4,000 years. When archaeologists began excavating the site in the early 20th century, what they found stopped them in their tracks. Here was a city that had no business existing in 2500 BCE. Here were drainage systems that shamed medieval Europe. Here were standardized measurements and civic planning that suggested not just intelligence, but a social contract, an agreement between citizens about how a city should work that most ancient societies never achieved. And here is the question that hangs over every excavation trench, every analyzed potsherd, every undeciphered seal. What happened to the knowledge? When the people of Mohenjo-Daro dispersed, did they carry the secrets of their engineering with them? Did some echo of their civic philosophy survive in the cultures that came after? Or was it simply lost, the way so much human achievement is lost, not in a single catastrophic moment, but in the slow erosion of memory across generations? We do not know. We may never know. What we do know is that when the next great urban civilizations rose in South Asia, they did not build drainage systems like the ones at Mohenjo-Daro. They did not lay out cities on perfect grids with the same obsessive standardization. Whatever the Indus Valley people knew, whatever social genius allowed them to build a city that functioned so efficiently for so many centuries, it did not transfer cleanly to what came next. The merchant standing at the gate that silent morning, the one we imagined at the beginning of this story, would not have understood what he was witnessing. He would not have known that the emptying of this city was the end of something the world would not see again for a very long time. He would only have felt the wrongness of the silence, the way the absence of familiar sounds can be more alarming than any noise. he might have walked the empty streets one last time, past the silent bathing rooms, past the perfectly constructed drains that still worked, still carried water, even with no one left to use them, past the Great Bath, its surface reflecting a sky that did not care about the civilization it had once nourished. And then, like everyone else, he would have walked away, leaving behind a city that had been, for a brief and extraordinary moment in human history, as close to perfect as any collection of human beings had ever managed to build. A perfection so complete, so self-contained, that when it ended, it left no successors, only questions, only silence, only the slow accumulation of dust over drains that still, even now, archaeologists marvel at. If this story left you as haunted as it leaves me, you are not alone. The mystery of Mohenjo-Daro is one of those rare historical puzzles that grows more fascinating the deeper you dig. If you want to explore more stories like this one, civilizations that rose to extraordinary heights and vanished in ways that challenge everything we think we know about human history, then subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. And drop a comment below with the one question you would ask if you could speak to someone who actually walked those perfect streets. I read every single